Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head down to Spain once again for the first time in what feels like a good little while. So we're going to go to another brewery that I've never tried anything from before, but as I've mentioned in previous Spanish reviews, there seems to be a very high standard of craft beer and craft brewery down there these days. Seems to be a little bit of an unwritten rule in Europe that when one of the wine countries has a go at making craft beer, it will go pretty well, and in my experience, Spain is no exception to that rule. So I always enjoy introducing new Spanish breweries to you here on the channel, and fingers crossed this one carries on in the same vein as the others we've had already. But yeah, for this review then, we are going to go to Madrid and a little bit to the north of the city to a wee place called Alcobendas, and we're going to have a look at my first beer from Cervecera Península. So this particular beer is called Black Currant. It comes in at 7% ABV, and they're describing this one as a blackcurrant kettle sour. But it says on the front it's got black currants, lactose and vanilla added into it. So I think this could be quite interesting actually. So we got this beer here in Sweden as part of the Tillfälligt assortment through Systembolaget. It was released sometime in June of 2021. I can't remember the exact date, but I have had this one sitting in my fridge for a little while, mainly because I needed to kind of research and write up the notes for it, and that took a little bit of time. But we've now got them written up and we can take a look at the beer, and as I say, I'm very curious to see how this one turns out. The main reason I bought this one was because it was a Spanish brewery and one that I hadn't had before. So yeah, hopefully it's as good as the other Spanish beers we've had before, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one too. But it's been a while actually since I have had a blackcurrant sour, so I am quite looking forward to that as well. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I could do in the future from Cervecera Península. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Spanish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, but not as often as I would like. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Cervecera Península. So Cervecera Península, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Madrid, and the company was founded back in 2017 by Roman Lesa. So Jove is originally from Venezuela, but he grew up in the US, and they lived for a period of time in Fort Collins in Colorado, which is a very well respected beer town, and through that they were exposed to brands such as Odell's and New Belgium. But this pushed them into homebrewing a little bit, and he learned to homebrew with his father and spent a total of 12 years as a homebrewer, apparently, having started back in 1994. But as a kind of professional, he has a background in engineering and also experience in finance as well. But when he went back to Venezuela, he started to rediscover homebrewing and decided that he wanted to get more involved in this industry rather than continue working in finance or in engineering. But in 2014, he went to University of California at Davis to study in the Master's Brewer Certificate program, and then he subsequently obtained a brewing diploma from the Institute of Brewing and Stilling in the UK. But his dream, though, was actually to have his own brewery in Venezuela, but you know, because of the whole political situation there, that is pretty much impossible, the kind of Russian-American proxy war that's going on there and the various other things. But after this, he decided that he was going to go to Spain, because this was where all four of his grandparents originate, and he says that he doesn't regret that at all. He says that Madrid welcomed him with open arms, and he hasn't looked back since. But he established his brewery, he found a premises for it, and he's taken it from there. So the brewery itself can be found in Alcobendas, which is to the north of the city, and it produces around 350,000 litres of beer per year. They've got an extensive barrel aging program, and they produce a lot of mixed fermentation sour beers. They seem to produce a lot of New England IPAs as well, and a couple of West Coasters I've seen as well, so I guess it's probably more accurate just to say IPAs, but they have done a few Imperial Stouts as well actually. But they also have an on-site tap room that you can go and visit, and it seems to open quite a few days a week actually. But yeah, as of July 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these these guys have produced 125 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and like I say, it seems to be the sour beers and the different IPAs that they're most well known for, but you will find a few other things in there as well. I saw there was an English Old Ale on the website, and they also had a couple of Imperial Stouts that seemed quite interesting too, but this is the one that we happened to get through Systembolaget, of course. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Cervecera Península for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can of course check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, that's all I can tell you about them for the moment. So I'll let you just have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open it up. And their sour beers seem to have quite a similar type of artwork to them, really, which is quite nice. But there you can see on the back there is the Cervecera Península symbol there. So they've got it in the text. It's kind of like Cadillac style writing almost, from the American cars, and the van that's on the front of that certainly looks very American. So I'm guessing it's maybe the brewery is perhaps named after an American car brand or something like that. Not really into cars, to be honest with you, so I have no idea. But yeah, this I think should be quite interesting. It says on the back here that this one is, it says that this one on the back, it contains barley malt, oat malt and wheat. So yeah, I'm thinking this one will be one of these big kind of fruity, juicy, creamy sours if you like. But yeah, blackcurrant, lactose and vanilla, but they're calling it a kettle sour as well. So yeah, seems to be very nice, this one. I can't remember what I paid for this. I think it might have been about 50 or 55 Swedish kroner. So that translates to roughly €5.50 for the can, about £5 sterling, and somewhere in the region of like six, you know, it's probably $6, $6.50 American, just so that those of you watching across the world have a little bit of a price reference. I don't know how much craft beer costs down in Spain and Portugal, actually. I've got an idea for quite a few of the other countries in Europe, but Spain and Portugal, I have no idea. So if you are watching from there, do let me know what you would pay for this can in a domestic bottle shop. But yeah, I think this should be quite an interesting one. But like we said, 7% kettle sour, this one, blackcurrant, lactose and vanilla in the brew. So let's crack it open and see how we get on. I'm very curious about this. The blackcurrant from Cervecera Península in how do you say it again? What's the name of the place? Alcobendas, to the north of Madrid. And I do apologise if any of my Spanish pronunciations have been a bit bad in this video. It's a language that I don't actually have very much familiarity with, but it's one that I would like to study. In fact, I want to go and explore Spain and Portugal as well, and Latin America. That would be awesome. But yeah, certainly looks very nice. We've got about 75% of it in the glass now, I think. So we can take a look at the colour and stuff, and then we'll get the rest in before we taste it. So yeah, looks like Ribena. Not sure how good a reference that is for Spanish people watching this video right now, but we do get Ribena up here in Sweden. I have seen it, and we get it back home in Scotland as well. But yeah, as you would expect from one of these kind of modern sour beers, it's got that lovely, just kind of crazy fruit colour to it. So I think it's fair to describe this one as a little bit of a kind of, burgundy maroon type colour. It reminds me of the Heart of Midlothian football shirt. Reference for all the Scottish people in there. But yeah, it looks great. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the surface there, but the beer has pretty much no head, and it has since we poured it out. But yeah, lovely, deep, blackcurrant juice colour, this one. Yeah, so to me, looks like Ribena. Not sure how good a reference that is for you guys. But remember, the colour of your beer is dependent on a few different things. One, the type of malts that you use. That usually determines the magnitude of the colour. Two, the length of your wort boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. And then any adjunct that you add into the beer will affect it, and this is particularly prominent when it comes to sour beers, of course. Berries, as you can see, have a big influence on the colour, and then any barrel aging that you do will affect the colour slightly as well. But the beer itself does have a fairly decent level of haze to it, and remember, the level of haze in these beers is usually determined by the level of the amount of oats and wheat in the malt base, of course. But yeah, in terms of a modern kind of sour beer, especially a blackcurrant one, this is certainly not out with the realms of possibility. So yeah, that's all we can really say about the appearance of this one. It certainly looks the part of a blackcurrant sour beer. But yeah, I like how it goes together, that's for sure. So yeah, nothing too much, nothing really surprising about the colour of this beer at all. So I think we can have a little look at the aroma then and just see how we go. Nothing surprising about this beer for a blackcurrant kettle sour, I guess we could say. But yeah, nice and hazy. So aroma time for this one then. Let's go for it. Oh, that smells lovely actually. This is one of the things I've always said about these modern sour beers. Quite often they're very straight shooting in terms of their flavour profiles and their aromas, but they're just lovely, you know. And these beers really show you that sometimes simplicity is the best way. And I've said that about quite a few of the Berliner Weisses and the Goses and things that I've had, although this one is neither of those, right enough. But it comes across very, very sweet actually. There's a lot of vanilla in this. So it really, this beer, as I've said in other ones that are similar to this, it really just smells like a big fruity yogurt, to be quite honest with you. If you think about these petit filou yogurts that you get, it really smells a lot like that. So you can smell and it's the oats. I think that really the oats and the lactose combining that will give you this note out of it. You do smell a little touch of a bready note in this one from the barley malt, and maybe a wee tiny hint of bread crust, but the vast majority of the malty side of the aroma in this one is a big creamy vanilla, you know, almost, you know, lactosey type thing coming out of this one. So, you know, it gives you this impression of like a petit filou type yogurt, which I certainly can enjoy, absolutely. So yeah, the aroma of this one is absolutely lovely, I'm going to say that. There's maybe a wee tiny hint of like, you know, a butter candy sort of sweetness in the middle of the nose there, but really it is the malty backbone of this one, the malty yeasty backbone that this beer has really is very much like, there's a little bit of bread, wee tiny bit of bread crust, a wee bit of a kind of Werther's Original sweetness, but you know, other than that, it really is, you know, a petit filou yogurty type thing that you get out of this beer, and it's really interesting. I don't think there's hops in this one, and you know, I've talked about this before with some breweries. Some breweries, particularly here in Scandinavia, actually, not a lot of the breweries that brew these kind of beers put hops in them, because you know, there's an argument there that the bitterness takes away from the kind of sour character of the beer. But there is a brewery back home, Vault City, who do put hops in these sour beers, and I think it adds a little bit more depth to the beer actually, but as far as I can see from the aroma, I think it doesn't, but let's just check my nose and see if I'm right. Oh no, this one does have hops in it. Oh yeah, interesting. So yeah, it does. Because what I was going to say before is that you often get a little bit of a placebo kind of hoppy character out of them. And you know, I was smelling a little bit of grassiness out of this, but usually with these beers, with these kind of sour beers, they'll put a little bit of older hop in them. At least that was what they would do in Belgium with the kind of classic sour beers, the Flanders Reds and so on. But I think what they do with the more modern ones is they put, you know, like Hallertau and Tettnanger and Sats and stuff like that. They put in the lower alpha acid and kind of more noble type hops. Or they just put in a little bit of American hop, of course. But with this beer, it's actually quite hard to detect the hops because of how juicy it is. I mean, you can smell a little bit of floral aromaticity to it, absolutely, and you can smell a bit of the lighter grassiness, and those were the things I was going to say were the kind of placebo effect of this beer, of the hops. But obviously it does have hops in it, so it's no placebo at all. But yeah, you know, there's a teeny little hint of earthiness to it. As I say, I get the floral notes start to come out the more that you kind of focus on them, obviously. But yeah, there is a nice little bit of a lighter, grassy kind of thing to this one, absolutely. On the fruity side of things, obviously it's blackcurrants all the way, but you will detect one or two little other things in there. You know, you can get wee tiny hints of like a figgy character, you know, a sort of candied strawberry, but it's quite common that you'll pick up other little things in there beyond just the main fruit, of course. But yeah, blackcurrants all the way with a few little kind of candied strawberry notes and slightly figgy elements to it underneath. But a very straight shooting beer in terms of its aroma. Basically, it smells like a big fruity yogurt with a wee bit of kind of hoppy grassiness and stuff to it, and a little touch of, you know, biscuit and Werther's Original kind of thing in there. So yeah, take a bit of time just to ponder over the aroma of this one. But what you will notice is this is quite a straight shooting beer in terms of that. But yeah, let's get started on this one then. I'm very curious to see how it turns out. So yeah, this is the Blackcurrant, a kettle sour, coming in at 7% ABV from Cervecera Península in, what's it called again? How do we say? Alcobendas. That's it, Alcobendas, in just to the north of Madrid in Spain. Let's get stuck into this one and see how we go then. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Yeah, that is pretty nice actually. Yeah, definitely not as thick and creamy as some of these big sweeter ones that you're coming across. I think that's actually very, very nicely done. And to be fair, I can see why they would go for a sour like this in Spain rather than one of the big, thick Berliner Weisse or Gose things that are quite popular up here in Scandinavia. Although in fairness, I remember having, I forget what brewery it was from, actually, but I did have a big, they were calling it a Barcelona Weisse or a Barcelona. I think it might be a Barcelona Weisse they were calling it. I had one from one of the breweries over there, and that was a big, thick, creamy sort of thing, and it was really nice actually. But I was about to say, I can see why this type of sour would be quite popular in Spain, because it's, it's a very hot country actually, sort of place that Scottish people go and get and come back, red as fuck. But yeah, you get fried over there. At least I would, because look at the pale skin. But yeah, this thing, in the nice hot Madrid sun, I'm sure these things go down very well. But in terms of its flavour, very straight shooting beer, but one of these ones that's just really, really well crafted. So let's try and break that flavour down for you a wee bit more and describe it a bit more succinctly. But this is a lovely beer, so big thumbs up to Cervecera Península for this. Definitely want to try a few more from these guys. A West Coast and I think a West Coast IPA and a New England IPA might be in order after this one. But yeah, very, very nice. And I do like the fact that this is, as I say, it's not the thickest of sours that you're going to come across, but it's just really nice and very smooth in that sense too. So yeah, let's break that flavour down for you a little bit then. So straight away across the middle third of your palate, straight away across that, you can feel that nice, smooth, a white bready backbone there. You can feel that barley malt quality there. So you do get a wee bit of that kind of pale malty, white bready kind of thing. That's across the middle third and the back third of your palate, and I really like that. But sitting on top of that, you can feel the wheat. The wheat does give you a lovely smoothness to the beer, of course, and that again is on the middle third and the back third of your palate. And then if you go to either end of that middle third of your palate, you might just detect a little hint of a slightly bread crusty note coming out of this one. But of course, on top of that, you've got that mix of lactose, vanilla, and oat in this one. You can just feel those all kind of accumulating together. Then you've got like a big circle in the middle of your palate. And it sort of makes like a kind of crater, I guess, in the wheaty bread sort of thing. You can just feel that. That's where this kind of yogurty type quality is coming out of this one. So it's the vanilla, the oats, and the lactose all combining together to do this in that one. So I like that about this beer for sure. But yeah, the malty side of this beer is absolutely lovely. It's really, really nicely done. As I say, not too thick. You do get a little bit of a slightly, in the very dead centre of the palate, you do get a little bit of a kind of Werther's Original butterscotchy, butter candy type sweetness right there, but that's quite minimal. It's just like a little circle right there, but that's usually the boozy part of the beer, I would say. But yeah, I really like how the beer goes about its business in that sense. The malty backbone is really nice. It's not madly thick and creamy, but it's still got a lovely kind of sweetness and smoothness to it. So I really enjoy that about this beer, that's for sure. So yeah, awesome stuff, lovely. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there's too much to say about that middle third of your palate. But if you go to the back third of your palate, you feel a little bit of build up on that border region between middle third and back third of your palate. Then the same elements into the sort of white bready notes I was talking about and the smoother wheat. Then on top of that, you can feel a bit of the kind of oat and the lactose and the vanilla stuff kind of creeping over. But on top of that, you can feel the flavours a little bit taller. You get a little bit more of that airy, yeasty sort of thing on the back third of your palate. But as you come further forward, you can feel that the flavour, the flavour sort of is a little bit taller. Then it just condenses down a wee bit as you go further forward. Then into the middle third of your palate, the flavour is just a little bit more kind of condensed together. But I very much like how all of that goes together in this beer. It is very, very nicely done. So yeah, malty side of the beer gets a big thumbs up from me. Hoppy side of the beer then I think is fairly straight shooting again. A little bit of a little bit of earthiness in the back corners of the palate. It feels quite smooth, so I do wonder if I was right about saying either maybe there is like a German noble hop in this one or something, or it could be something along the lines of a little bit of Cascade. I'm not sure. There's something a wee bit familiar about the hoppy side of the beer that makes me wonder, could it be Cascade? But yeah, as you move further forward on the side of the palate, it gets a little bit herbal, and as you reach the front corners of the tongue, it's a little bit more kind of floral and aromatic in a sense. So yeah, I do like how that goes together too. But yeah, on the as we say, on the as we go further up towards the front corners of the palate, it's got a little bit of floral aromaticity, and round the front curve of the palate there's a little bit of that lighter sort of grassy kind of thing, and then the front third of your palate, of course, is all about the fruits. But yeah, on the border region then between front third and middle third of your palate, again there's a wee bit of a slightly bigger bready build up there, maybe a little hint of a bread crusty note. And the base of that front third of your palate is all about the it's that wheaty, smooth sort of thing. You get the smooth white bread underneath, a bit of the wheat, and then you can feel a little bit of the vanilla just kind of spreading forward in there as well. So I like that. On top of that, of course, you do get a little bit of that oily bubble where the fruity, juicy esters come out of the hops, and you get just a little touch of a kind of figgy, candy, strawberry kind of thing coming out of this one. So that's very, very interesting in this beer. Actually, there's a lovely hop that I discovered recently from France called Barbe Rouge, which I can see working very well in a number of these big fruity, juicy sour beers actually. But this one is very, very nice, of course. So yeah, on the fruity side of things, so remember we've got adjunct fruit in here. It said that it was blackcurrant puree that they put in this. So the thing you always have to remember when you put adjunct fruit into a beer, it's always going to suppress a little bit of the hoppy bitterness of the beer, and a lot of it will come out around the kind of edges of the tongue there. But that front third of your palate, you can feel that big juicy blackcurranty sort of thing. And of course you've got a few elements of fig and candied strawberry and things in there. But yeah, that blackcurranty note sits right on the kind of front third of your palate there, which I really enjoy. And I would say in terms of the sourness of the beer, this one really isn't that sour at all. It just comes in with a little bit of a comes in with a little bit of tartness in the beginning, but it really smooths out very nicely. And as I've said in previous sour beer reviews, for me, the thing that makes a good sour beer is the transition from the kind of sharpness and tartness in the beginning, the impact, if you like, and the way it sort of smoothens out and just sweetens up. And this one does it very, very well, actually. But like I say, not the sourest of beers that you're going to come across by any stretch of the imagination. But round the kind of front edge of the palate, you can feel, you really feel that nice juicy, you can really feel that nice juicy blackcurranty element sitting around this one. So I really like how all of that goes together in this beer. The juicy fruity part of this one is very, very nice. So big thumbs up for me from this beer in terms of the flavour, and I have to say I would be very curious to try a few more of these sour beers from these guys, but at the same time I'm very curious about the other styles that they do. So hopefully I can get a couple of them at some point. I'll keep an eye on Beer Dome and things like that and see if I can get a few, but certainly cool to see more and more Spanish breweries getting their beers outside of the country at the moment and across Europe. But yeah, this is definitely worth trying if you get the chance, and I'm sure there are other beers will be of similar quality. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, to round off this review, you know, mouthfeel wise, this beer, I think it's quite full bodied, this one, but it's kind of bottom end of full bodied, if that makes sense. The carbonation is very, very smooth. The beer does have an element of creaminess to it, but at the same time, as I say, it's not the thickest sour that you're going to come across. For example, if you compare it to the likes of the Morgendagens, the duck ponds, the fermentaranas and things that we have here in Scandinavia, it's nowhere near as thick as they are. But the level of thickness that you get out of this one is nice. It's more like a very slight creamy smoothness that you get, but at the same time it still feels quite clean and drinkable. So yeah, I think it's really interesting how they've pulled this one off. This is a very, very nicely done sour beer. 100%. So in terms of IBUs and things, I think technically speaking this beer probably has, you know, close to 0, but it's probably got like about 5 or 10 IBUs to it, something like that. The malt base, as we said, is lovely and smooth. You've got a nice big kind of sweetness to it as well, which I think is great. It really feels like yogurt and everything like that. So you know, the oats, the oats, the vanilla, and the lactose all combining together in this one. To say a little bit of hoppy bitterness, wee touch of sourness to it, and a lovely big juicy fruity character as well. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful beer. This one, certainly glad I got it, and I'll be keeping an eye on seeing whether any more of these beers appear through Systembolaget again in the future. But yeah, that's it for this review just now then. I really enjoyed this. The Blackcurrant Kettle Sour, 7% ABV, blackcurrants, lactose and vanilla added into it from Cervecera Península in Alcobendas to the north of Madrid. Lovely, lovely stuff. So we can leave it there. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Cervecera Península. Do give me some other Madrid and wider Spanish brewery recommendations as well. But this one's been awesome and cool to return to Spain after what feels like a little while. But thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out their social media, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and salud.